Hey, what's going on, internet? Josh Noel from Sunduck Film. So today we have a DaVinci Resolve tutorial, and I will be going through basically every tool or most of the tools in DaVinci Resolve for color grading and color correcting your clips. So a lot of awesome techniques in here. So if you're new to DaVinci Resolve, or if you've been using it for a little bit, this tutorial will kind of go through everything that you need to do proper color correction in DaVinci Resolve. I was going to do a speed grade tutorial, but I just learned that Adobe does not, it looks like Adobe is not going to continue speed grade, and they're going to integrate that right into Premiere. So I think DaVinci Resolve is going to be the dominant mainstream color grading program on the market right now. I mean, it really is. So DaVinci Resolve has a free version called the Lite version. So if you're not using DaVinci Resolve to color grade and color correct your footage with, be sure to download it off of blackmagicdesign.com. So basically, we're going to go right to the color tab, and this is kind of, what our final look is going to look like. This is about the nodes that we're going to use, but we're going to explore just about every parameter that DaVinci has to offer. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of reset these. So we can start from scratch. So there's a couple concepts here. So if we go ahead and go all the way to the right here where the camera icon is, we can see that I shot this in RAW, and not everyone is going to shoot in RAW, so I'm not going to use the RAW settings in this tutorial. But what's cool about shooting in RAW is that you have the option to change the ISOs, and you have these parameters to affect as well. If you didn't shoot in RAW, if you shot in a compressed format like ProRes or H.2.64, you won't be able to adjust these settings. But we're not going to touch that in this tutorial. It's always nice to have these extra settings in the metadata. So I think it's really cool. So basically, let's go right to the color chart tab. So right here, we use the color checker to balance out this shot. I'm not going to use it in this tutorial because I have a tutorial on how to use the color checker in DaVinci Resolve. And I probably think most of you guys watching this video might not have a color checker. But if you don't have one and you're into cinematography and color grading, you need to be sure to have one of these. I don't use it for every shot, but when I have time, it can be awesome just to have it to bounce colors off of. So this is the X-Rite color checker. It's $70, and I'll have a link in the description for it. And it's not too expensive, and it's a great investment. So I highly suggest getting this chart if you're into color grading. But for those of you who do not have it, I'm going to go ahead and jump over. We're going to use the built-in LUTs easily, and we'll go with that. Since we are not using the color chart, what we can do is we can right-click our node here, and we can go to 3D LUT. And this was shot in Blackmagic film, or BDM film. And I want to go ahead and set this to Rec 709. So Blackmagic Cinema Camera Film to Rec 709. And as you see, this gives us a saturated and more contrasted look, because we shot this in more of a log format. And we're now changing it to Rec 709. And of course, you guys, not everyone's going to shoot on a Blackmagic Cinema camera. So it's important to know if you want to go to VFX.io. And if you shot in sRGB, which is a DSLR format, what you might want to do is try to be creative. I have a video on changing to different LUTs, but you always want to check out what you shot on, and then you can adjust the LUTs from here if you want to go to Rec 709 or whatever. So we're going from Blackmagic Cinema Camera Film to Rec 709. And it's a little bit warm, and it looks pretty cool. So let's go ahead and go up to nodes and click on add serial node, and remember the keyboard shortcut, because we'll be using that a lot in this tutorial. So basically, let's go ahead and maybe balance out our image a little bit more, maybe brighten it up just by a touch. So what I'll do is maybe go to the left here and raise that up just by a little bit. And a good rule of thumb is to think of lift as shadows, gamma as midtones, and gain as highlights. So let's go ahead and maybe raise the gamma up just by a little bit, and maybe go ahead and increase the gain just by a little bit here, maybe 1.15. Oh, it's a little too much. I'll leave it at that. Okay, so a little before and after. So help brighten up our image just by a little bit, kind of moved up our histogram, and we'll definitely be using scopes a lot in this video. The right way to color grade and correct is by using scopes. Of course, is about seeing what you're doing to your image, but of course, There's rules to follow when you're using scopes, so we'll talk a little bit about that as we move on. So let's go ahead and go create a new node, and let's start to kind of grade this out a little bit. I mean, we can consider what we just did our initial correction, but now we can get into a little bit of grading and making this thing look beautiful. So what we'll do is I'll go ahead and go to the lift here and bring the lift into the blues a little bit. And as you can see, it kind of fills in the shadows a bit, adds a little bit of blue to the shadows. And then we go to the gamma, and I'll go ahead and set that to the greens a little bit. And this is more of my style. There's not really a correct answer on what to do here. It's really just up to you and experimenting, or trying to get the look that you want. So I'm gonna go to the gain and maybe up that to the reds, red oranges, just a little bit, not too much. All right, so a little before and after. That kind of helped, add a little bit of interesting color to our image. Not by a lot, but, it's very subtle and it looks good. But right now I'm going to go ahead and create a new node. And I'm going to go ahead and maybe go to, well, down here, what you want to do is maybe click on number 2 here. And let's bring up a new set of parameters here, the color, temperature, and tint. And I want to go ahead and mess with that a little bit. So this might be a little bit warmer than what we want to start with. So what I'll do is maybe go to the negative value for temperature. And we'll go ahead and increase that. And a little before and after, as you can see, kind of made our image just a little bit more blue, kind of more of a white balance. Things are looking nice. But I want to go ahead and maybe touch up the tint a little bit, just to add a little bit more of a purple-ish sort of tint to it when you raise the value up. And that kind of, make the image to where, I want it to be. So we just added a little bit of blue elements in here, but also kind of helped the skin tones a little bit just by messing with the tint. This feels like more of a balanced image, and just some things you want to mess with when you're trying to create a great, cool look. So the one thing I'm trying to do is create a very vibrant look, because that's my style. And I just want to, make things make sure things are balanced. So once we move along here, we can continue to, push out certain colors and just get to experiment with the tools. Let's go ahead and create a new node, and let's go up to nodes and add new layer node. And what I want to do with this setup is to basically add saturation to this image, but not really affect the skin tones of our actresses. So what we'll do is we'll basically go make sure 07 is clicked on our new layer node here, and let's go ahead and click on the skin tones of our actress's face. And if we hit Shift H on our keyboard, that'll bring up what we have selected, and we can kind of maybe increase the width by a little bit, and maybe maybe a little bit more. And then we can kind of go to the blur radius, and increase that by a little bit, and then maybe increase the clip black by a touch. Maybe not so much, but that's okay. So then I'll go ahead and hit Shift H again, and that will kind of take away what we have selected. Then let's go to the 05 node, and let's go ahead and increase the color boost, and that will kind of saturate the entire image and kind of leave them unaffected. And it's very subtle, but if I delete the 07 node, as you can see, they become more saturated. So this is a way to kind of affect the image and cut out certain parts of the image where you don't want to have affected. So it's pretty cool. And one thing I want to do is go back to node 05 and go ahead and increase the mid-tone detail. So if you have ever used clarity in Lightroom or Camera Raw in Photoshop, this is basically very similar to it. It basically sharpens the image. It's not exactly the same as clarity. It's not as intense, but it's a good way to sharpen the image, and kind of helps bring more focus into what you already have in focus in your shot. So a little before and after, things are a little bit more sharp. It looks nice. Things are coming together. So we're just on node, the first 7 nodes here. What we can do now is add a new serial node, and let's go to our curves over here and make sure that we're under the hue versus sat. Okay, so there's a few points down here, and let's go ahead and click on all the color points right here. And as you can see, it kind of adds a little bit of a few points right here in our shot. So what we can do is say we want to saturate the greens in this shot. We can bring this up, and as you can see, the wine bottle got a little bit more saturated because it is green. And it's very subtle, but it's there, I promise. And maybe we can go ahead and increase the yellows a little bit because I want a vibrant, a warm, vibrant feel to this image right now. And let's go ahead and maybe bring down the reds a little bit so, their skin tones can kind of look a little bit natural, not feeling like, I don't want to make them look like tomatoes or oranges. But, it looks pretty good. And so what we can do now, since, we kind of did this, let's go ahead and create a new node. And let's also create a new layer node. And basically, what I want to do in this one is basically select the background and really bring that out. Because it's just, there's nothing special going on, in the wood in the background here. Let's kind of bring those colors to life. So what we'll do is we'll go back to the quantifier, make sure the picker is selected, and let's go ahead and just kind of click on, the wood here. And if we hit Shift H, we'll see what we have selected, and it's a mess. It's a complete disaster. So let's go ahead and click on the selection range tool, the plus tool, which is right here. And let's kind of click on a grayed out area, which is basically a part of our background, and kind of add these elements back into our image. So this is a good start. We have a little bit of work to do because I don't really want their hair selected, her skin tones are selected, but for the most part, I got the wood, selected, and that's fine. So what we're going to do, we're going to do a little bit of refining and a little bit of masking. So let's go ahead and kind of close down the width. And I think the majority of our colors is basically right here. So we can really close this down because we don't want the green selected as much. And let's not be afraid to close that down. All right, so we've really closed down the width, and let's kind of move this, graph over a little bit. And by using the center. And let's kind of position this. Maybe we'll even close up the width a little bit more. And we're looking pretty good. Maybe we'll increase the soft by a little bit. And, maybe we'll even close down the width some more, just trying to make sure, I'm a little bit of a perfectionist here. So that's fine. And then maybe increase the blur radius by a few points, and that's looking just fine. So there's some hair here that I don't really want selected, some skin tones. I don't really want that selected. So what I can do is go to our mask over here, which is basically this window, mask window. So what we can do is we can click on this little curved graph here, and basically it gives us the pen tool. And what we can do is maybe like kind of select around our actress, the areas that we don't want to have affected, which is basically our entire actress. And we'll kind of go here and just select everything around our talent. It doesn't have to be perfect, but we want to just be close as we can get it. And then we'll close it up. And so now we have a mask around our talent here. And what we can do is click on this little window here, which will basically invert it. So now she's completely grayed out. But we don't want to leave it at that. We want to increase the soft by a little bit, so it's not a hard edge. It's just feathers things out. It looks nice. It blends together. So increase that by a little bit. Okay, and I'm not sure if I really care about her hair, but just for the sake of the tutorial, I'm not gonna move on to that one. What we'll do is we'll go to the tracker window here, and make sure the mask is highlighted, and we hit this play button, and this will basically analyze the clip, track forward. So this mask will basically track with our actress here all the way through to the end of the clip. So it's really awesome. You don't have to set any points. It just does it. So I'm going to kind of cut it off here since it's just a tutorial and we don't need to have it, tracking the entire time. So now if we go ahead and maybe turn this off, we can kind of go ahead and start saturating the background. So we can go here and maybe go to the gain here and just increase the, the reds a bit. So now a little before and after, and things are looking pretty good. We just punched out the background by a lot. So now let's kind of move on to another node, and it's just a serial node. And I want to show you guys just how to sharpen an image if you want it, if your shot's a little bit soft. This image doesn't need to be sharpened, but what you can do is basically under the sharpen tab here, the blur tab, you can go to the radius and just bring that down, and that will kind of make the image pop a little bit. Now this image doesn't need it. I don't need to bring out the grain any more than it needs to be brought out already. So I'm not going to go ahead and use that for this image, but I'm just showing you guys how you can do that if you're interested in sharpening your image. So I'm going to turn that off since we don't need it. And basically, let's see where we're at. Maybe what we can do is create another node, and I'll show you another cool, window in here, and it is the Luma versus Sat window. And basically, what we can do is click these points down here, and this will saturate pixels that are in the shadows or the highlights, and it's really awesome. So maybe I want to go ahead and saturate some of the shadow information a little bit. And it's very subtle, but you can see the blues and the greens in this wood kind of came out a little bit. It's really cool. Maybe I'll go ahead and increase this just by a little bit as well. And this has just a little bit more, saturation, 2-hour shot. And things are looking, it's just cool. I like color. So let's go ahead and create another node. And let's go ahead and really get stylistic with the grade here. And a technique that I like to do is go to our regular curves here and make sure to select, one channel, which is the red channel. We'll start with that one. And I want to create S-curves for each of these channels and kind of mess around to see what kind of grade that we can get. You can get some interesting looks with this. I like messing with it. Just bear with me here for a second. We'll kind of go to each channel and kind of, create a little bit of separation from each channel. So we can get some cool ideas and, create some awesome looks this way. Letting the power of DaVinci Resolve create the art for you. Something to mess around with. So maybe I'll go back to the red channel and kind of bring down the shadows of the reds, and I'll kind of bring out the blues a little bit more. So this is before, and now this is, after. I definitely like it. Maybe what I'll do is maybe I'll bring down the red channel just a little bit on the highlights, and maybe I'll go to the greens as well, and maybe bring that down just a little bit as well. But very subtle. I think it's really cool, very interesting. So if we take a look at our scopes here, we see that we are clipping a little bit of information here, and we have some blown out details. So basically the light bulbs are blown out, which is okay. It's not a big deal that they're blown out. I mean, depending on who you're working for and the type of person you are. Let's see, this is a little bit clipped, it looks like, and there might be some clipped information here. And if you're working for a cinematographer or a director that wants to go after that film look, if you will, basically you don't want to have any blown out parts of your video, and you definitely don't want any clip parts of your video. So what we can do to quickly fix that, so we can get that done, we'll go ahead and create a new serial node. And right here underneath the soft clip and under the curves window, we can go here, and where it says low soft, we can increase that by a little bit. And as you can see, our waveform and histogram moves up, and the shadows are becoming exposed a little bit. We can see some detail in there, and it's not clipped anymore. And then once again, we can maybe bring down the high a little bit, and as you see, the highlights are brought in a little bit. And if we turn this node off, there's no difference. You can't see any difference in the midtones. Just very subtleties in the highlights here, or the blown out parts and the clip parts. So that's really cool, and that's really how you can get the film look, because if you don't know, old film would always kind of or not old film, but film curves out at around 0 IRE, so it won't exactly be pure black, and it will curve out right before 100 IRE, so it won't be pure white. So that's really what's cool about film, and you can easily control that in DaVinci Resolve if you want to say, hey, I got the film look. So let's go ahead and create a new node, and I'm going to show you guys how to create a vignette real fast if you don't know how to do it. So we'll go back to our window here. We'll click on the circle mask, and we'll zoom out here, and we'll drag this up, and we'll go ahead and maybe stretch this out a little bit more, and I may have dragged that up a little too much, so I'll bring it down. Okay, and then let's go ahead and increase the soft by a little bit. So we have this very nice soft vignette, and let's go ahead and invert the mask. Okay, and let's go ahead to the offset and bring that down. And our edges of our shot will be, vignetted, and things will look very nice. If I create a new node, get rid of that. So a little before and after. It looks really good. Personally, I like the look of our skin tones here. If we check out the vector scope real fast, it looks like everything's kind of on that skin tone line. If we, you can go here into the settings and just click on Show Skin Tone Indicator, And what I can do here is maybe go to our quantifier and make sure that's selected and click on our skin tones here. And hit Shift H to bring up our highlights. And it's pretty close. It's not exactly on the line, but I'm not going to complain. I like the look that we have. Some of you might not, but if you want to go ahead and adjust this, you can just mess with the wheels here and you can kind of get that on the line if you want to have natural skin tones or for whatever you're trying to do. So that's how you can do that. And let me turn that off. Boom. So I think it is a really cool image, and I hope you've learned a few things from this tutorial. This is basically a lot of the tools here in DaVinci Resolve. I haven't gone through everything, but if you're new to color grading or whatever, you now have access to pretty much everything you need to do a proper grade. And I have a few videos that are more that go in depth in other things. So those links will be at the end of this video and also in the description of the video. So be sure to check those out. And I definitely plan on doing maybe a more in-depth tutorial where I talk about more of the technical settings of DaVinci Resolve. So I think this was a great tutorial. I'm very happy to do it. I love DaVinci Resolve. I love color grading. So if you guys are new to the channel, please consider subscribing for more tutorials for filmmaking and color grading. And if you guys enjoyed the video, if it helped you, please drop a like. It helps me out tremendously. And if you have any questions, please drop a comment down below or hit me up on my social media links. Those links are in the description of the video. And guys, thank you so much for watching this video, and hopefully I'll see you soon.